Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe climate change represents one of the greatest threats to our economic livelihood, our national security, and the health of the planet. To help combat this growing threat, on February 19, 2015, the President issued a historic executive order which requires that the federal government commit to key sustainability goals. This executive order builds off of ongoing low-cost efforts throughout the administration to reduce emissions, save energy, and achieve key sustainability goals. The efforts bolstered by this executive order have already helped federal agencies save $1.8 billion in cumulative energy costs. Surely we can all agree that the federal government, as the country's largest consumer of energy, should be a leader in cutting energy costs and saving taxpayer dollars, which is exactly what this executive order enables us to do. Specifically, the executive order directs federal agencies to ensure 25% of their total energy consumption is from clean energy sources by 2025, and reduces energy use at federal buildings by 2.5% per year between 2015 and 2025. These are worthy, realistic goals to strive for because the consequences of not acting are dire. Unmitigated global warming will reduce our global gross domestic product by almost a quarter in the next 80 years. As a professor at Stanford University said, we're basically throwing away money by not addressing climate change. And to be clear, Mr. Speaker, this isn't something that only environmental groups are concerned about. Citigroup issued a report that found that minimizing temperature rises could reduce the global gross domestic product loss by $50 trillion. While climate change will have catastrophic long-term consequences, the effects of our warming planet are already being felt in our own backyards. Given the nature of this threat and the modest yet worthy goals this executive order sets to help combat the economic, security, and health risk climate change poses to us, I hope we can push through these common sense measures, and I'll reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves. For what purposes, the gentleman from California seek recognition.
I rise in opposition to this amendment.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
My friend wants to ensure that funds are being expended on an executive order issued by the President. Simply put, the President did not consult Congress on these executive orders. Again, call me old-fashioned. Around here, you should be able to pass a law in the House of Representatives, United States Senate, have it signed, and not do things unilaterally. And obviously, we were not consulted. This has, from the perspective of the majority, we have a problem with this executive order. We would not be doing our jobs if we allowed the President to unilaterally make policy decisions without Congress having the ability to weigh in and with these appropriate policy debates. In the meantime, we must use our congressional power of the purse to rein in the executive branch overreach. So I urge my colleagues to vote no on the amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I think the gentleman may have a little confusion, not as concerned about funds that are expended, but really funds that are saved, the $1.8 billion in cumulative energy costs. The billions of dollars we'll save by addressing climate change. You know, I know in 2015, in the gentleman's home state of California, they had the worst water shortage in 1,200 years, which has been intensified 15 to 20% by global warming. And in my home state of Wisconsin, farmers are facing more pests and widespread disease from higher humidity and warmer winter temperatures. So I would argue this isn't about expending funds. This is about saving taxpayer funds, which is, I thought, something that people on the other side of the aisle would also want to do. So I would hope that the gentleman might change his mind and support this amendment, and I'll reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from California.
Well, obviously, being from California, we have our own versions of what's going on with the drought, and certainly the science that I look at is different than the gentleman's look at the science that he's at. But that's what policy debates are all about. We should here in the Congress. We should debate that in the Senate, and it shouldn't be decisions that are unilaterally made by any president of the United States. That's why we have a democracy here, not a king. And so I would oppose this amendment, would encourage all the members here to oppose this amendment, and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Wisconsin.
I'll yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back.